welcome everybody. It's great to see how many people are participating, and I hope you'll find this really exciting. I'm really interested to see how this will all work. I think the combination of the virtual Zoom and being able to see each other and to talk, but also the mural setup is really innovative and I think engaging. So I'm really welcoming everybody to really take part. So let me do my job, which is to set the scene. Yeah, next one, Peter. So to set the scene, first of all, who are we as the CRP? Just a reminder, what was the CRP about? We were set up and proposed to do a program of 6 years that was structured around the 5 flagships. The 5 flagships are the core. Each one had its own theory of change, had its own proposal, and was evaluated based on what it was proposing as research and the impact it would have. And we have been able to protect that space over the last 3.5 years so that you as the flagship teams could focus on your research, could focus on what you had proposed to do and to implement that. We as the CRP also had an overarching theory of change, an experiment that we wanted to try to work on during the CRP, which was to demonstrate that for livestock research, it's a bit more complicated than other agricultural research because livestock really requires the integration of the research results from across the flagships to really be able to have transformative change and impact. And so we set up this experiment of integrating our work across the flagships in our priority countries, our 4 priority countries. And that has really framed a later part of our work in the CRP, but it's a very exciting piece of work as well. Next one. Takes a minute to load up. Okay, and where are we? So we're 70% of the road completed. We've faced some challenges. In the first year, in 2017, we had a major cut in our Window 1, Window 2 funding because 2 of the flagships had not been fully approved. We also then had our horizon shortened by 1 year, from 6 years to 5-year program. And now we have COVID-19, just to complicate things. So right now we're at the stage in the middle of that 4th year where we're in our normal planning process, but this year is much more than the normal exercise. It's business unusual. What do we have to take into consideration? We have to figure out what's happening, what has been the impact of COVID-19 and how we adjust to that. Importantly, we know that we only have 1.5 years left to finish our Window 1, Window 2 activities. We know there's a hard stop at the end of 2021. We have to have all our activities planned now to be able to finish by then. There won't be any flexibility, any ability to extend beyond that time. So we have to be very careful in planning that. We also have to be thinking about making the case for the next steps, our life after the CRP. This is our chance to make that case, to generate the evidence and to prepare what is going to be needed to convince everybody that this research should go on to the next steps that we're proposing. And then we really need to prioritize what we as a CRP are going to be able to show as our achievements at the end of next year. What we'll need to show that we've been successful and that it was a worthwhile investment and that we've done a good job and therefore should also be encouraged to continue that work going forward. Next one, Peter. So we've structured this meeting to help support you in the flagships to be able to do this planning as effectively as possible, to make sure you're aware of these issues and that you're thinking as a team about how your flagship is going to be able to take advantage of the planning to be as effective as possible in this remaining year and a half. So 3 main objectives. First, we want you to be able to take stock. And just as we do each year, what progress are we making during this time, during this year on our plan of work and budget? But within that, to understand what the implications have been of COVID-19. We need to be able to explain better our progress using the theory of change. So we've made a big focus on helping to explain your product lines using a theory of change framework. Why? We're going to be having a review this year. All the CRPs are being reviewed. It's not a full evaluation like the last phase. It's just a desk review. But what they're focusing on is how has the CRP effectively addressed its theory of change? Has it made progress? Is it showing progress? So we want everybody to feel comfortable that they understand what progress we've made within as a theory of change story. We also want to make, in taking stock, we want to be able to identify what are the promising achievements that you really need to prioritize, that we can help, that you within the flagships can really ensure get finished, and that we're developing the evidence and the communications to show what those achievements will be at the end of next year. The second thing is the planning for the finish. How do we plan very carefully right now for the next 18 months so that we anticipate the bottlenecks that we will be facing once we begin to come out of COVID-19, out of lockdown? Everybody will be trying to catch up. And the problem is that everybody would be trying to catch up on everything all at the same time. So let's recognize that, identify where that's going to happen, and make sure that we're going to have the resources in place to be able to achieve what we plan. We also need to make sure that those window 1, window 2 activities finish in good time and are not somehow left unfinished because the money, the budgets end at the end of December. There won't be any ability to carry over beyond that. And we need to be able to really focus again on those key achievements and prioritize generating the evidence we need for those, both so that we can report on them, but also so that we have something that we can really show at the end for making the case for the next steps. So that's the third objective, positioning for those next steps, identifying the product lines to be taken forward and which ones will be put on the back burner, prioritizing the evidence that will make the case for those next steps, not just for reporting what we've achieved during this phase of the CRP, but what is the evidence that's going to make the case for taking it forward. So those are the 3 areas that we've been interested in. And in doing that, we want the outcome of this planning session to really be reinforcing your part and your role and your contribution to the CRP, that you understand and feel that you're a part of what the CRP is trying to achieve, and you understand and can explain what your role in that is. Next one, Peter. So the whole planning meeting has been structured around those 3 objectives. What we're trying to do, and Mireille, Michael, the team has really focused. Peter, can you move to the next one? You're trying to? All these sessions are organized around those objectives, whether it's living legacies, which is our key achievements, futures thinking, how we get to impact, but also what are the next steps, our science report and review, getting our story straight and tight and clear to us, what we've achieved and how it fits our theory of change. Then the good science as well, cross-cutting sessions, how all that fits in, and the real core, plans and budgets. Next one. Now, the other part of the setting the scene is that we're also facing, we're in the context of the 1 CG change. Is that coming, Peter? Yeah. So the 1 CG process is ongoing. There's a lot of things in play right now. A lot of things are not clear, are all being sorted out. The executive management team should begin next month. They're being recruited right now, and at some point during July will certainly be coming on board. They will be taking control of implementing the 1CG process, and they'll be under a lot of pressure to move things very quickly. Dalberg has now been appointed as the Transition Management Support Unit, so they'll be also supporting and helping to structure this whole change process. The Common Board will be constituted in October. That will change a lot of the environment we live in terms of how the structure of authority within the CG. We'll still be having discussions this month and into next month about the modalities, the research strategy, what's going to replace the CRPs. Right now, it's at a very high level, sort of a conceptual level of what that will look like. And then they'll be getting down to the details once the executive management team is in place. You can expect the pace on all this to pick up quite quickly over the rest of this year, and that will translate into some of us getting distracted or diverted to focus on the proposals for the projects for post-CRP. Next one. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but as always, when there's a lot of sudden uncertainty, there's also a lot of opportunity. So keeping in mind that within this uncertainty, there will be some questions about how are we being restructured? Where do we live in this new system? How our centers will be making their adjustments and changing their capacity to position themselves to address the new research agenda while we're still trying to deliver on the existing CRP. And of course, the COVID-19 is creating some budget uncertainty. I think we're in a pretty good position. We have quite a bit left to execute already with the resources we have. I don't think we'll be affected very much by that, but I'm optimistic. So final message, let us look for the opportunities and the ways to strengthen our case now for your research interest. Let's use the CRP to really consolidate and to prepare for the next steps. And Mireille and Peter really liked this tweet from David Navarro, who many of the people in ILRI saw in our roundup meeting a couple weeks ago. And I think his final message there is really key and relevant to us, pertinent. Engage unusually, explore collectively, encourage creativity, and emerge more powerfully. So let's keep those as some of our words during the course of the next 2 weeks. So please enjoy, interact, enjoy. Let's really engage. Thanks.